Thank you so much. Well, hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Serin. I'm an emotional intelligence coach. I work on empowering women in leadership roles. I see AI as an opportunity for us to focus on leading and less of the doing. My belief right now, after working with executives for over 20 years, is that we do not have enough space in our business culture to think about the solutions that we want to build consciously and to be able to lead from a strategic vantage point. With me is Madhumita Mantri, an AI product builder at Startree. She is an expert in AI. She sees a huge opportunity in how we think about incorporating AI into our work, including the building of tools. So this is a short session today, so we're just going to jump right into it. If you have any questions or would like to come on stage, just let us know. So the first thing I want to say is, as I mentioned, critical thinking, less focus on do. I was looking in preparation for our talk today, I was looking at an article in Fortune magazine, and as of January, CEOs have been saying that they're craving critical thinking skills amongst their leaders and amongst their workforce. There was a study cited that said that CEOs only believe 20% of the workforce thinks critically. So why am I bringing this up in a talk about future-proofing your career? The reason I'm bringing it up is that there's so many different points of view around AI, but when I think about how to future-proof, it's really about leaning into the technology, using it, understanding it, applying it, testing it, no matter who you are in a company, or even if you're an entrepreneur, it really doesn't matter. But our counsel in terms of future-proofing is to lean in and use it and not be afraid of it. I was speaking with someone last week who was actually afraid to even play with the prompts. And they were looking for someone that was actually going to spell out everything that they had to do. And I said, look, you just need to go in and play with it. It's not here to replace anything that you're doing. So embrace this change. Keep your skills fresh and sharp. How do I do that personally as a coach? I work with a company called Section School. I'm a member, and they have tons of content on how to use AI to make decisions, how to write a business plan, how to support an argument or rationale. You can go really deep with it. So if you're on the fringes of it, get in there and try to play with it in whatever ways that looks like for you. The other thing, especially as a coach, is the human factor is still essential. For any leadership endeavor, you need to have those business alliances. AI is technology, but it's still going to take people to operate the AI, so to speak. And Madhumita is going to talk about what that looks like in a minute. And really what that means as well, if you're out there as a leader or professional, invest in your own personal brand, right? So if AI is going to help with the day-to-day work tasks and make you more efficient, that's going to give you space to think more strategically and offer more to your company or to your clients. So any comments on that so far? Sounds like we can move on.
I'm blown by what you just said, Serin, and I follow you closely on LinkedIn, and I learn so much with just your quick learning bites every day. And I have done an AMA session with you on the building the confidence part. You bring in so much energy and knowledge, and especially building critical thinking or emotional intelligence. These are very hard, and especially people like me who are very much into the tech background. It took years to groom myself. I'm still growing. And people like you are very inspiring. And sometimes we fail to know the gap and not ask for help right on time. So it's great that you are bringing those expertise and sharing it loud. And I look forward to sometime definitely see my coach. I'm indirectly, obviously, you're my coach, LinkedIn coach. But definitely recommend whoever listening as well. Follow Serin, and if you want to grow in your career, especially building the emotional intelligence and all the soft skills, if you're heavy into technical background or trying to get to a leadership role, highly recommend her looking for her coaching opportunities.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot to me. I look at everything that you're doing because you know so much about AI. Sometimes it blows my mind. So on that topic of your expertise around AI, can you say a little bit about what does it mean to have a future-proof workforce? You know, how can professionals adapt to the demands of an AI world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you think about future-proof workforce, it starts with me in the first place, what I've been doing, and will share based on my experience. I always constantly think about myself and overall, like all the professionals in my field, and how to constantly work towards building a future-proof job, whether it's AI is there or some other technology out there. And now the hype is definitely AI, and it's taking up a big like space. But if you look back in time, say before 2000, there was a dot-com bubble, and everyone was going after, okay, we need to support Y2K, and that was a big thing. And at some point, there was like going digitalization, and pandemic kind of changed things very differently in terms of remote working. So any given point of time, I've seen always this curveballs coming to us, like professional like us, and how the work is evolving. So what are the core skills we need? And then I will talk about how AI is different than that. So anytime we face this kind of curveballs, I feel as an individual, what matters the most is adaptability and curiosity. So how quickly you can adapt to that new change that is coming in your field, and how well you can be prepared for that. You need to be curious, and how you can fill those gaps and learn about it. That's the first step. The second thing is about how to gain experience, and is this the right thing for you to do, or there's a different thing to do, like how you can pivot. Those are the things next comes into my mind. Now, adaptability and curiosity. Now, let's talk in context of AI. AI right now is evolving very fast. As you can see, like literally earlier this week, I was reading an article where there are human robots are in play. And I've seen this demo where the robot is talking to the human. They were talking about an apple lying on a table, and the robot is able to see that and suggest what to eat, the other person they were talking. It was quite scary to me to some extent, but it was also an interesting, like when I see things are scary, I try to look forward to see what is the opportunity out there. So
Uh-huh.
in that case, like for me, the opportunity was, okay, we are professionals or humans. We are very busy in doing things, and we never look forward to delegate things. And maybe it's an opportunity to delegate things, and low hanging fruit we can delegate. So similarly in workforce, I see AI into play, like in terms of how I can learn about AI and apply AI to my benefit, how I can augment myself. So that's the first step I am taking, and I will highly encourage people also to, if you're not familiar with AI and getting up to speed, and this is what scares you right now, I will highly encourage to do that. You don't need to be technically savvy. All you need to do to off the ground is to learn how to use it, and learn how to use it for your benefit. Now,
May I ask
yeah,
a question? Sorry to interrupt you.
no worries.
So when you've talked about how you use it to augment what you're doing, can you give an example?
Yeah, great question. So I am a PM. My responsibilities are, if I focus more on the execution side, that's where a lot of energy goes. So I have to constantly brainstorm things, come up with ideas, and again brainstorm with my cross-functional partners. I have to deal with like a lot of communication and influencing. I use Gen AI a lot as a companion. I can brainstorm ideas. I can say the things that I don't want to do it myself. A good example is, since I'm into data AI product management, we had to deal with a lot of data processing and analyzing the data. I'm using ChatGPT heavily to analyze my data, tell the story, things like that. There are a bunch of things I do, and communication is big area. Because I love writing content, but I'm not a communication expert. So definitely AI is helping me to make my communication great. Although
Mhm.
I still use my brain to give ideas to AI, and then AI just tries to fix it. It's a
Mhm.
great companion. It brainstorms with me, but sometimes it hallucinates as well. So that's why the human aspect that you were bringing up earlier, that is very, very important. And that's how you can tell AI what to do for you and augment yourself. Now I can do much more with less, so that's
Mhm.
how I'm leveraging AI on my day to day.
That's awesome. What do you think the most promising applications for AI are to benefit society? That's a big question, but I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Um, so there are multiple use cases put into use, but something that is really standing out for me, of course, AI is barely scratched the surface right now. There's long way to go. Um, in content and communication space, I see it doing a great job. Where you have the content, you want to improve the content, or just writing like simple PRD. I have some notes, and can you turn it to a PRD, product requirement document, that is easy to understand for everyone? And these are my stakeholders who are going to consume this information, things like that. So and then also, if you're a content writer, you're writing content, you have an idea, but you
Mhm.
don't have time to write it. You can use AI for that, of course. You do need to validate what it is writing. As I said before, it hallucinates. But that's one
Uh-huh.
area I see AI is having promising impact. The other area I see is the health space, which is picking up quite a lot, because there are a
Mhm.
lot of automation you can do, research work you can do, where AI is very instrumental. Another area is fintech. Uh,
And
yeah, and retail and all are picking up as well, like where you are trying to do personalized recommendation, knowing the human behavior more, learning about human more, and doing everything in real time. All those things, combining it all. I mean, these industries are standing out. I do
uh-huh.
feel AI is everywhere, like in education also these days, in
Uh-huh.
schools and things like that.
For you, for your role at Startree as in product management, like where do you get your prompts from? Like how do you like what's your source for prompts to do your work?
Yeah, great question. Because to make AI into work, you need to be a good prompt engineer. It comes from the human angle, which we were chatting about earlier, the human edge. So it's your brain. You have a question, and you wanted to know certain answers for. So how you would ask yourself that question or ask somebody else that question, and that's where that's the generation of prompt, and which very well ties back with what you were saying earlier, the critical thinking, which is very
Mhm.
important. Because if you're not thinking critically, you're not probably asking the right question, so you're not actually forming good prompts and get the most out of AI. So that's the source. And good example in my day-to-day life, say if I am doing a market research, and
Uh-huh.
I can just simply ask questions. Hey, can you do a competitive analysis and among these products and give me the result? That's a very lame, I mean, it's a good information still, but how would you put into use? It doesn't
Yeah.
tell a whole lot of story. And this is
So
where, yeah.
just to pause on that, sorry to interrupt you, but what I'm hearing you say is that the machine is only as good as the input that you feed it. So if you're doing a competitive analysis for the example that you just are working through right now,
Mhm.
and you just say, give me a competitive analysis, you're not going to get very good output.
Yes. You will
So,
still get some information, but it may not be as useful to you. How would you apply and put into use? So
mhm,
this is where the critical thinking and prompt engineering part comes, where you know what's your goal is, why you are doing competitive analysis. Either you are trying to say build your product strategy, or you're trying to build a pricing strategy, or you're thinking about go to market. There are various aspects, or you're just in early phases and you are trying to evolve and innovate and find those hidden opportunity which other people are not able to solve for, or what are the differentiators you want to build. There are different goals. So
Mhm.
if you put the goal and in your prompt and say, hey, this is my goal, this is what I want to accomplish, for this reason I want to do the competitive research, and use this as a context, and as a result I want to build a strategy, or I want to come up with ideas for a differentiator product, things like that. You give, then you feed in and provide a prompt, then the result you will get will be more promising, and
Uh-huh.
you can apply it to your benefit.
Where do you get your prompts from? Like, do you have like any sources for that, or is this you? Because I would love to do more sophisticated things than what I'm doing now with it, and I'm just curious, where can people find
Yeah,
more prompts?
great question. So I do a bunch of things to get the good prompts. One, obviously LinkedIn is a great source. There are a lot of people posting these days about prompts on different areas. Like if you are a sales professional, there are different prompts for that. Or if you're a PM, there are different prompts. I come across a bunch of feeds and I try to follow those influencers who are posting those. Then it is in my daily feed. Second thing I do is there are a bunch of um, Substack articles and articles who write about prompt a lot. Superhuman is one example, but there are a bunch of others. So I've enrolled for some of those. Third is now that ChatGPT has a GPT store, you will
Mhm.
find a bunch of, like, in fact, I've seen a couple of GPT store product which says like how you will build great prompts. So
Okay,
they just ask you some question and they will give you a prompt. Like this is how. It
that's
does
interesting.
still need some little bit of critical thinking and knowing what you want to do and things like that. But still, it can at least produce a quality prompt that you can further use and refine it. The
Mhm.
third thing I do is also talking to people, right? Say I'm trying to build a product strategy. What are the things needed? And maybe I know only this much, or I'm new to startup and I'm trying to do in a startup space. So there are already experts in that field. And a good example is you also, right? If I want to learn about critical thinking, you know a lot about critical thinking. So I can ask you like, what is critical thinking, or where should I start? Like if I want to learn all those questions, right? And I can use ChatGPT also for that, but I don't know what is the right question I should be asking. So learning from an expert and then using that as in prompt engineering in ChatGPT kind of experience. That's another way I try to apply. And the last but not the least is experiment. Like I do a lot of experiment, write a
Mhm.
prompt in myself, keep like iterating on that. So these are the ways I get the source of prompts for myself.
Thank you. That was really helpful. Superhuman, Substack, ChatGPT store, influencers that you follow on LinkedIn, and then lastly, talking to other humans, which I think is really important.
Yes.
Um, I've actually been following this for about 20 years, not AI, but just the fact that there was a book that was put out, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. It was called The Shallows, and it was about how once search engines took off, people stopped meeting and asking each other questions because they could just go to the internet to get the answer that they needed.
That's
So you
right.
wouldn't get any context, right? The internet will say, well, go do this or go here, but you miss the context when you don't have a conversation. So I love that you've added that as one of the inputs, which is if there are people that you know who are experts, go to them. And then the other thing is what's nice about that from a leadership perspective in terms of one's career is that you do want to continue to build alliances both inside and outside your company.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for those alliances also ties back to something you said, which is around curiosity.
Yes.
Right? I think when AI first was really made, a lot of noise was made last year in particular. I think people were like, this thing's going to take our jobs. And I'm not really here to get into that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am here to say is as long as I've been in technology, it's not really about people not having to work together or having to together or having to brainstorm together. To your point, the machine is only going to take in what we give it. And if we're not very deep ourselves in what we're feeding the machine
Yeah.
in terms of critical thinking and other knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be challenging. So as we do move towards a more AI driven world in our work, you know, I think you brought up this point, like, how do we become better critical thinkers? How do we ask the right questions?
Yes.
Right?
That's
What can we
very
offload to the machine so that we can spend the time to really think?
Yes, absolutely right. And I'm seeing that myself when I think when ChatGPT came, it came in end of no, 2022. I did not know about ChatGPT almost half of 2023. So when I first time knew also like, okay, this just answers some question. How is it going to help me? I did not know, and I wasn't using for longest. And then my mentor said, whenever I ask him a question like, why don't you discover yourself? Like, I don't know what to ask or what to, how do I find answers for? And then he was suggesting that if he had to ask ChatGPT, how he will ask, and that's how I learned. So that's where I felt there's a need of the expertise, like I need to talk to an expert and then use that for repetitiveness and like because I learn from you, but if I don't practice it or build a habit around it, I will fail at it. To build a
Right.
habit, maybe ChatGPT is useful once I learn from you, and then building habit using ChatGPT may be useful. But if we directly go to ChatGPT, I may not get the most because I'll be asking the same question that I am aware of, not learning more.
Yes, it comes from within the sphere of what you know, your world.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing you say is, how do we expand the number of inputs to refine the question that we're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. The other thing I was going to say, just anecdotally, I'm using Claude. I'm actually not using ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have experience with Claude versus ChatGPT.
I haven't tried Claude a lot. I still like using ChatGPT for various reasons, given mainly I'm into tech and then I use data and AI very heavily. And
Uh-huh.
I need to be playing around with data a lot. And I've seen ChatGPT doing a great job in that, especially if I'm playing around, experimenting with data. I need a lot of like synthetic data to first analyze and see how my models are performing or how I can build a story out of it. And
Uh-huh.
ChatGPT does it very easily. I don't have to write Python script. It does everything for me and just give a spreadsheet with data. Of course, you can't do this at scale, but
Uh-huh.
for smaller scales, it is possible. And that's why I use ChatGPT. It depends what is that you're using for. And maybe
Yeah.
there are tools out there that may better serve you than others.
Yeah, I'm using Claude because, and I pay for a subscription because I'm very communications driven.
Yeah.
And so the way it works from a writing perspective, for all kinds of things from ebooks to articles to brainstorming. I just really love it. But I did try to get a free data set and play with it in ChatGPT, but I'm just not technical. I got curious to what you were saying earlier
Yeah.
about how can I use this tool and how can I look at a data set and glean information from it. But you know what's most exciting about it, I think, is just it for me, it's a thought partner,
Yes.
right? And
Companion.
sometimes,
It's
yeah, go ahead.
actually a very good companion. In fact, keeping the work aside, if I think about my life as well, if I have not gained certain life skills and then I'm curious and I'm not comfortable asking my parents or my husband or my friends, then I usually go to ChatGPT and ask that, like, because it doesn't judge you what your question is about, and it does a great job in answering.
That's so funny. I was just going to bring that exact point up. I was going to say, sometimes when we're in a company, we might have an idea, but we're not sure if we want to share that in a meeting or with our boss or with our peer, because it's just an idea. Maybe we're nervous about putting it out there, that it's nice to use the AI tool to put that idea into the chat and see what comes up. Like it's a good first person sounding board to go to before you bring the idea out into the open.
Yeah, yeah, completely. It's a great companion.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few minutes left. Does anyone have any questions that they have for either myself or Madhumita? No? How about you, Madhumita? Do you have any questions or comments that you want to add before we close?
Yeah, I think one aspect we all can think together as we prepare future proof for our career in future, how responsible we are also as part of the society, right? I mean, you have the control how to shape your future, and we come together as a society and think about it like, what does AI brings us in future? Maybe using AI ethically, like use AI, say the robo example. If it is trying to help you on some day-to-day activities, great, but don't teach the AI robot to how to do war or how to be a criminal. I think we need to be very responsible, and also how to replace my job. If you try to teach that, then it'll be a challenge in future. Like if AI becomes more smarter than what your human
Yeah.
average intelligence is.
That's one of the things I really liked about the content that you've shared on your LinkedIn is about the responsibility from an ethical standpoint.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was doing some research for a client that is a fraud prevention technology, and in Claude, it didn't want to give me responses to the questions I was asking because it thought I might be doing something nefarious with the information.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is just market research to understand the product. But I think that's a good point, which is, how do we make sure that we do this the right way, do this in an ethical way?
Yeah.
Well, that's all that I have on this end. I want to thank the folks who've attended. We're going to make the recording available. I especially want to thank you, Madhumita. I'm really enjoying collaborating with you.
Same
You
here.
are my go-to AI expert.
Thank you, Serin.
I get a
And
lot when I go to your LinkedIn page. My sense is that you and Star Tree are really on the cutting edge of what's happening with AI from a tech solutions standpoint. And as I mentioned, like through my coaching, what I really think the big opportunity is as we close is to really lean into our critical thinking skills, use AI as a workhorse for our efficiency tasks, use it as a thought partner, use it to get more stuff done. But remember that your view of what you put into your prompt is only as deep as you make it and only as deep as your knowledge is. So if you want to collaborate with your peers or your friends or colleagues around something and then really load that into the prompt, great. We'll make sure to capture some of the resources that were mentioned on the call so you can try out some of these resources in terms of where to find prompts and all kinds of other good stuff. But I mostly want to just thank everyone for their time and have a great rest of the weekend.
yeah, thanks a lot, Serin. It was always pleasure to collaborate with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.